Hi, morning everyone. Welcome to episode 25 of the Knitting Expat Podcast. Welcome. Today is Monday, the 31st of August. It also happens to be Perry's birthday today. So he's had to go to work, unfortunately. But back to this. Welcome. My name is Mina, and I'm coming to you today from my home in Bahrain. I live here with my husband, Perry, whose birthday it is today, and our two cats, Hugo and Derek. You can find me on Instagram as Mina Phillip, on Ravelry as Mina86, and you can find the Ravelry group for the podcast on Ravelry as the Knitting Expat Podcast, and you can find show notes for this episode and all past episodes at knittingexpat.wordpress.com. And I also have a Etsy shop where I sell my handmade project bags, which is minamakes.etsy.com, and I'm now also on Periscope, and you can find me there at Mina Phillip, same as my Instagram username. So I'll have all of that linked down below in the down bar on YouTube, in the episode thread on Ravelry, and pretty much everywhere else you can find me. So and in the show notes, basically. So if you're watching this, wherever you're watching this, the links will be nearby. Right, yeah, and I'll come back to Periscope a bit more later in the episode. I have a few thoughts about that, and I've got some questions for you guys to see what you think. First of all, I wanted to start out by saying I am so sorry for anyone who had any trouble watching last week's episode. I was away in Dubai at the time, and it took me a while to get back to my computer. I was out and I was getting messages from people saying they were having trouble watching. Some people were having issues watching it. Some people had no problem at all. And I was getting really confused why some people couldn't see it and others could. And then Dan from the Bakery Bears commented on one of my posts on Instagram to say that it might be a music copyright thing. So that was what it was, and it was really annoying because when I got onto YouTube, I couldn't tell that there was anything wrong. There was no notifications, there was nothing obvious. I had to really go searching for it to find it. You'd think if it was a copyright issue that YouTube would make it a little bit more obvious and, you know, maybe send you an email about it. Apparently not. So fix that finally. So you should all now be able to see it with no trouble. I'm so sorry again for that. And now that I know that that's an issue, I'll make sure it won't happen again. I genuinely thought that the music copyright thing was only an issue if your videos were monetized or if you were making money from what you were using the music for. I didn't realize it was an issue for everyone. So yes, now I know. I think Julie from Diary of a Yarn Snob had a similar issue last week as well. So fun times. Anyway, I wanted to say welcome to all new and returning viewers. I want to thank you for taking the time to spend with me today and for joining me for this episode. I really hope you enjoy it, and I really do appreciate your support. So if you are a new viewer and you like what you see, come on over to the Ravelry group and join in. We have 3 knit-alongs happening at the moment, and yeah, it's a very active, very fun, very friendly group. So come and join in the chatter, and I look forward to seeing you over there. Also, I don't know if I said it, thank you, Dan, for helping with that situation last week. I really appreciated that. Okay, moving on. I have a few thank yous to say this week. First is to Karen, who I'm not sure if she wants me to mention her Ravelry name, so I'll just say Karen. Thank you very much. You know who you are. And she gifted me the Phoenix hat pattern from Sally Jane, the Pink Hair Girl podcast. And this is what her charity pattern, raising money for the Children's Burns Unit in South Africa. She's doing with her daughter Rachel, who is modelling the hat beautifully. It's a really lovely pattern, and I saw her special episode that she did for it and I'd really been eyeing it up. The thing is with me, I don't tend to buy patterns unless I'm going to start knitting them straight away. So whilst I had my eye on it, I hadn't quite purchased it yet. But so thank you, Karen, and I'll be sure to pay it forward and pass that hat along to someone else. Gift the pattern to someone else. The second pattern that was gifted this week was from Carrie of the Freckled Whimsy podcast, and she sent me the Levity shawl, which is beautiful, and I'd seen this on Ravelry, and I think I'd added it to my favourites or queue, I can't remember which now. You can see there, but I haven't quite got around to purchasing it yet when Carrie sent it to me, so thank you so much, Carrie, that was so sweet of you. And I've already messaged both Karen and Carrie to say thank you for those patterns, and those will be hopefully coming up on the needles soon. I have no idea when I'm going to get around to knitting everything I want to knit. But I wanted to shout out a few new podcasts I've been watching recently. A couple are new, a couple are I've been watching for a while and just hadn't got around to mentioning them yet. So the first one is the Very Little Twitch and Stitch podcast by Martha and Scylla. And they're based in Penticton in the Okanagan Valley in British Columbia in Canada. And Penticton has a very special place in my heart for me. I spent a couple of weeks there when I was living in Canada. The company I worked for had an office, like a one-man office in Penticton, and the lady who worked there was taking a couple of weeks off to get married and go on a honeymoon, and so they sent me in to take over and basically hold down the fort until she got back. So that was a really lovely experience, and so it's nice to watch their podcast and hear about what's going on around there and what they get up to. And Martha has a lovely pattern at the moment, and she's working on designing a new one, the Okanagan shawl, which is beautiful. And yeah, it's just fun to see them interacting and chattering away and seeing what they're knitting. I still need to catch up on some of their past episodes, but what I've seen so far I've really enjoyed. And another one that is really new is Idle Cat Knits, and that's Ellen. She's in Texas. She's only just started. She's only got one episode out at the moment, but she's a real natural on camera and doesn't really sort of and ah as much as I still do. Like, I'm still all about the ums and ahs and ers and all of that, and I do apologise for that, but honestly the more I think about trying not to do it, the more I do it, so I'm just gonna go with it. See, there you go. Yeah, so Ellen is great, so go check her out. She's just finished an awesome pair of socks, and yeah, make sure you check her out and give her some love. And a couple more that I've been watching for a while now but haven't actually got around to mentioning is The Four Knits with Lara, and she's based out of Alberta, Canada, and I really like her podcast. She's quite softly spoken, but she's really lovely to listen to see the projects that she's working on, and she does some really awesome project bags. There are some that I've been having my eye on for a while now, and yeah, really pretty. So definitely go check her out. She's definitely got some really interesting designs and patterns that you don't really see anyone else using in their project bags. So if you're looking for something a little bit unique, a little bit different, make sure you check her out. And the last one is Maureen of the Victorian Studio podcast, and Maureen actually gave me mention my podcast in her last episode, so I wanted to say thank you for that, Maureen, but also to say that I really enjoy her podcast. She's also from Canada. She's from Winnipeg in Manitoba, and it's all the Canadian podcasts this week. And yeah, I really like her podcast. I really like her studio that she records in. It's really sort of there's lots of little bits and pieces all over the place. It's a really interesting background to look at when you watch her podcasts. And she does some really interesting knits as well, and her voice again is really quite softly spoken, very relaxing to listen to, and I really enjoy it. So thank you so much, Maureen. And that's it for that. I would also like to say thank you so much to everyone who has signed up and offered to test knit one of my patterns for me. My two current designs at the moment, which is this hat and these socks, which I haven't released yet, I haven't released the names for yet, let alone the pattern, but these will be coming out sometime in the first couple of weeks of September. I still haven't taken pattern photos for these, finished photos for these to use for the pattern. Reason for that is Perry's been really busy, and I usually get him to help me out taking the photos, and so yeah, that hasn't happened yet. But so those will be coming out soon, and like I said, thank you so much to everyone who has offered. I will be closing that thread today. I've had over 40 people get in touch or comment there that they'd be interested in testing for me, so thank you so much to everyone. I was actually on the topic of test knitting. I was actually chatting with Brittany of the Spun Fiber company on Instagram yesterday, and she's posted a picture of a shawl that she's designed, and she's looking for testers for that shawl. It's a really beautiful shawl. It's quite simple. It would be brilliant as a beginner lace project. It's got some striping in it, and the colours that she's chosen for her sample shawl are like a really dark brown and a mint green, and it reminds me of mint chocolate chip ice cream. And I said to her I would have loved to have test knit the pattern for her, but I have a lot on my plate knitting wise at the moment, things that I want to knit and / need to knit in the next few weeks, coupled with all the traveling that we're doing. I wouldn't be a great tester at this point. So but I did tell her that I would mention it on the podcast today, and that hopefully some of you guys would be interested in testing the shawl for her. If you are, head on over to her blog. I think it's spunfibercompany.com, or I will link it in the show notes, and I will put a link to it in the description box on YouTube and in the Ravelry thread as well. Please pop on over and let her know if you're interested. She's got all the details for the test knit on the blog post, and how to contact her to let her know that you're interested in testing. And if I can, I will put a picture of the shawl pattern up here for you now. So that's the shawl. I think it's really pretty, and it's a lovely crescent shape, and like I said, I would have loved to have test knit it for her, but I couldn't commit to doing it and being as responsive as she would like, and in general I wouldn't want to let her down, so I don't want to sign up for something I can't 100% guarantee. So that's that. And like I said, thank you to everyone for registering your interest. I am working on the shawl pattern at the moment that goes with the hat and socks as part of the collection, and that should be ready soon. I'm hoping actually that it'll be finished by the time we get back from New York. So I've actually gotten to the point, I'll show it in a second, but actually, you know what, I'll talk about this when I get to the shawl. Okay, moving on. Finished objects. I only have one finished object for you guys this week, and if you haven't already noticed, I'm wearing it. It's the Viajante by Martina Bem. I knit this out of Woolmise lace garn, and this is all that I have left, this tiny little ball. This is about 20 grams left over at the end, which means my my shawl is actually 303 grams, I think. I had 323 grams in my ball to start with, and this is in Woolmise lace garn. There's one of their weird different batches. There was something off with this one. I'm not sure what was wrong with it, but and it's in the grapes for sherry colorway. So I finished this. It was knit on 3.5mm needles. I actually counted before I bound off. I got up to 475 stitches on the needles. Okay, so we'll just unravel this so I can show it to you. Okay, so this is the beginning. And goes all the way along. I'm not sure how well this is gonna show up. The colours are a little bit washed out on my camera at the moment. Yeah. There you go, that's a bit better. And you got the lace, sort of mesh lace edging. And I absolutely love how this pulled and striped in such spectacular fashion. And I quite like it, but you know me, I'm not too fast on pulling, and with a variegated yarn in a shawl of this construction, it was bound to happen at some point. So as I said, I got to 475 stitches by the time I bound off. I did, in the end, 2 extra rows than was written in the pattern, because I had plenty of yarn. I could have done more, but by that time I was done. It was really funny. Whilst I was binding off, I was literally falling asleep as I was binding off. I was binding off with my eyes shut, and I was like, okay, I just need to finish this and go to bed. But I'm one of those people that when I start the bind off, I can't just leave it half bound off. I need to finish it. I don't know why, but so I finished this whilst I was in Dubai last week, and yeah, I blocked it when I got back home, and it is huge and it is fabulous, and I absolutely love it. And I have tried it on in the way that Martina shows it in the pattern, like as a cape type poncho thing, and it is massive. It is so long. Like on me it's down to my knees, which on anyone significantly shorter than me would be almost floor length. And I am 5'9.5". 5'9.5", about that. Yeah. Anyway, so I love this shawl. I love how it turned out. The way I was wearing it at the beginning of the podcast is probably how I would mostly wear it. Or how I would wear it most of the time. So it's basically ends up being like a doubled up shawl, and it's so soft and squishy around the neck, and it's lovely and warm, and it'll be great for traveling on planes. And it's massive. I could use it as like a blanket to cover my lap. So a lot of the time my legs get cold when I fly as well, so it would be nice to just wrap up in, really. I haven't tried all the different ways that you could wear this, but I'm probably not likely to wear it as a cape too often, but as in like putting my head through the actual hole, just because I feel like I get quite warm around my neck quite quickly sometimes, unless it's really cold. Maybe when we go to Iceland I'll want to wear it like that, but we will see. But yeah, I really like how it turned out. I opted to go for the alternative increase that Martina has in the pattern. So you have like the one big hole running down the middle. I don't know how well you can see that. There you go. It's hard to show it sometimes. And yeah, like I said, really happy with how that turned out. The shawl is just over 300 grams and I love it. I'm so excited that it's done in time for our trip and I can wear it on the plane. So moving on to whips. First things first, in my rainbow bag of loveliness that I won from the Swift Knits podcast a while back now, are my whiz bangs. So I showed these to you guys last week as a upcoming on my needles project. These are the whiz bang socks by Sarah Shu of the In a Snit podcast, and I won this pattern as part of the Caffeinated Knitting 12 Socks in 2015 knit along. So that's what the socks look like on the pattern. Now the socks are supposed to be knit toe up with a bootylicious heel, which is what the pattern is written with, but I seem to have really gone off knitting toe up socks. I don't like the way the increases look on the toe. I don't actually like increasing on such a tight gauge, it hurts my hands. So, and I seem to get a better fit with my socks when I knit them cuff down. Go figure. So I'm doing it cuff down, and I did the fish lips kiss heel. Just, well, because that's what I like, and I like how that fits on my foot. So that's how the pattern is knitting up. Ooh, I don't lose a stitch. There we go. It's actually this way up, I guess. So the pattern's inverted, but you get the gist. And I love how this is knitting up, and the colour repeats are just enough that you get one sort of one row of slip stitches in each colour in sort of rainbow colour order. So I love how that's worked up. And my favourite bit is how the heel striped. I love how that rainbow heel looks. I was thinking about doing a contrast heel, but I'm actually really glad I didn't. I love how that one turned out. And I only did the patterning on the leg on the front side. I seem to be doing this with all my socks now. I kind of prefer it. It makes the sock go quicker because you're only patterning on one side. But also, I'd imagine it'd be more comfortable when you wear the sock as well. Plus it's nice to be able to see what the yarn looks like in plain stockinette on one side compared to the textured section on the other side. So you get to see it both ways. Get the benefit of both, as it were. And yeah, I'm knitting these 2 at a time magic loop on, these are on 2.5mm needles, and this is with Knit Picks Stroll Fingering Hand Painted in the, let me grab the tag for you guys. Where'd it go? There it is. In the Country Fair colourway. So I'm really liking how that's knitting up, and Knit Picks Stroll Fingering is a, well, in my opinion, it's a heavier fingering yarn. So it's, I'm happier doing it on the 2.5s. It gives me a nice fabric. And forgot to mention, I'm at the toes now, so I just have the toe decreases to go, and then I'm done with that one. So that should be finished soon. More than likely, that'll be finished by the time this podcast is on YouTube. So there we go. As seems to be tradition with me now, is that I actually finish a project whilst the podcast is uploading. So by the time you see it as a whip, it's actually a faux. Anyway, next up are a pair of socks that I'm doing is gift knitting. I'll get the stuff out. And these are this is my Freckle Whimsy bag, which I love. I love this cat fabric. I get so many compliments on this bag and comments about this fabric whenever I take it out. I love it. And the pattern I'm knitting is the Charades pattern by, grab the pattern to show you. Who is it by? By Sandra Park. Free pattern on Ravelry, but you can't really see the pattern on there very clearly, but it's a very simple pattern. It's a free pattern on Ravelry, so go download it, there's no reason not to. And I am knitting it out of this Lang Joel Magic Degrade, I probably butchered that, in its colour 4172, and it's this beautiful sort of rainbow colours. And this is how it is knitting up. You can see the rainbow colours there on the back. And there it is in the front. Just get myself set up here. And there you can see the texture pattern that you get with the stitch pattern that is called for these socks. And I'm almost at the toes. I also did Fish Lips Kiss heel on these, and it just so happened that the heel showed up in the darkest part of the yarn, which probably is a good thing, but when you're actually knitting the heel, it's a little bit stressful sometimes, especially when you don't have the best lighting. But yeah, I really like how the texture pattern is knitting up in this, and again I only did it on the front for the leg. And I was really careful. I'm a little bit I'm just a little bit surprised, but I was really careful to make sure that I started on the same colour section. So this is actually the middle of the ball, and one is knit from the middle to the start and one is knit from the middle to the end of the ball. But you can see the stripes obviously are not even. So on one side the stripes are much shorter and this side the stripes are much wider in between the colours. But by the time I got to the heel, they pretty much caught up. Both of them have an entirely black heel, but again after the heel you can see the stripes went at different lengths again, and I thought it was almost going to reverse, but it's not quite done that. Oh well, they'll be fraternal socks, and these are socks for a friend, and I know she won't mind because she'll appreciate anything that I've made her. She said so much. She said so herself anyway, so I am not worried about that. And oh, another story about these socks. So those are being knit on 2.25mm needles, and these were the needles I was using. You see what's wrong with this picture? Yep, I literally snapped the needle in half in my hand as I was knitting. There's the tip, there's the rest of it. Quite literally snapped it in the middle of a row. Stitches went everywhere. Thankfully it's quite a sticky yarn, so they didn't actually go too far. So it was quite easy to pick it up and put it onto another needle. I was just a little bit annoyed, but I was aware that with needles that small with wooden needles, it's bound to happen at some point. And I must have been gripping it quite hard, or maybe my hands were a bit sticky from the humidity and I was gripping it too hard or something. But they snapped, so there we go. So that's my second whip, and that will also probably be finished by the time we leave at the end of the week. That's really my goal, is to get these 2 pairs of socks off the needles before we go at the weekend, on Thursday. And that way I don't have to worry about taking those whips with me, and I can take knit projects, which I will get to in a moment. But first, in my rainbow bag of awesomeness is what I'm calling this, is my shawl design, which I'm super excited about. And I'm not going to show it to you in its entirety. I'll show you the yarn first. So this is being knit out of Bernvilla in her barefoot sock base, and the green is her forest colourway, and the grey is the best grey ever. That's actually the name of the yarn, the colourway. So there you can sort of see. The green is so beautifully tonal. Like when you see it in the skein and you see it balled up and you're winding it up, you can see how beautiful it is. But then when it's knit up, it is just something completely magical. So beautiful. This is the shawl. Like I said, I'm not going to show you all of it until it's done because I want it to be a nice surprise. You can see how beautiful that is. I'm not sure how well you can actually see that, but it is so beautifully tonal. And it's not a semi-solid in the way that you would think, okay, well that just looks like a solid, it is barely tonal at all. This is tonal to the point of almost being variegated, which I love, and I think that's just perfect. It's exactly what I wanted, and Vicky really translated that well into the colourway that she did up for this. And Vicky is the owner and dyer of Bernville yarns in Germany, and if I didn't say, the base is her barefoot sock base, which is 80% merino, 20% nylon. She just had her first show this weekend, so I hope that went well for her. Yeah, so beautiful and so soft. And I am almost through the first ball. I have used 90 grams, and I'm at the point in the pattern now where if you were knitting the small size, this is where you would start the border. So I'm sizing this shawl for 2 sizes. The small size will use 2 skeins of sock yarn in 2 different colours, one for the main body, one for the border. Now I need to do the maths on it when I start the border on the larger size, which is what I'm knitting, but I believe you may be able to get away with a 50-gram ball for the border on the small size. Don't quote me on that yet, but I'm trying to work it out that way, so that if you have like a 50-gram ball skein rather than 100-gram skein. You could use that, or if you had 100-gram skein, you'd have enough left over to do something else. So that would be for the small size, and the large size would need 2 in your main color and 1 in your contrast for the border. So the large one is going to be pretty big, and the small one will be sizable. It will definitely be larger than your, well, I hope anyway, it will be larger than your standard sort of shawlette. Sorry, I just dropped the yarn. Sorry about that. That's the one that was attached to the shawl, so I had to grab it. So this has used exactly 90 grams so far, and I'm using my cute little stitch markers that I showed you guys last week. Oh, here we go. Oh, maybe this way is better. This one says oops, which I find hilarious. And I've got a little cupcake one that Caroline sent me. Then there's colourful bead ones, and there's one with my name on it in there as well. So that's where I am with this one. And my aim, I'm not going to kick myself if I don't do it, my aim is to get through the body and be ready to start the border by the time I get on that plane to London. But if you take a look at my to-do list for the rest of this week, which looks like that, it probably won't happen. And there's stuff being added to that list all the time. It is not it's not a completely exhaustive list. So that's my shawl design, and the last thing is my Cozy Memories blanket, which I am not going to show you this week because I have done literally 0 on that blanket, and probably won't do any more on that blanket until we get back from New York at the earliest, if then. But that's fine. It's meant to be a long-term project that you just come and go from. So I wanted to talk about really quickly needle adjacent projects, and these are basically projects that I'm taking with me to New York, and I'm trying to be restrained because, let's face it, I'm going to be buying yarn. If I really need to cast on something else, I am pretty sure I will be in a good place to be able to do that. So I am taking, and this is me being restrained, remember, I am taking 4 sock projects. I've got 4 pairs of socks ready to go. Maybe this way is better to show you. So this one is another Lang Joel Magic colorway. This is this beautiful autumnal colors. So I forgot to say, those 2 socks that I'm knitting are rainbow socks for the rainbow cow. They are socks for the September Sept cow that I'm running. So September, you can knit anything that begins with S, socks, and the shawl will count for that too. And also the Herbstblatt Regina podcast is doing a Fall in Love cow, so those will be entered into that, as will these socks, because these are the perfect fall colours. This is in the bag made for me by the lovely Tanya. And I'm sorry, I hope you can't hear that noise in the background. There's construction workers finally finishing that road in front of our compound. The machinery is making quite a bit of a racket. The second pair of socks is a pair of Crazy Zappable socks in this green colourway. Got the tag, and that is the Jack V. Hosse. Sorry, my camera doesn't do the autofocus thing, it's my iPhone. Sorry. Then I also have another pair of Crazy Zappable socks in black and white. My dad picked out these colours, and I had such a nightmare winding this last night. I wound off 50 grams for this one. Got into a terrible knot right in the darkest black section of the yarn. I spent 20 minutes trying to untangle it before I gave up and cut the yarn. Thankfully, it was so far near the beginning, I probably won't even get to the knot by the time I finish the socks. And this is in the Domino colourway. And if I do, well, then I'll just deal with it. And the last pair of socks I'm taking with me are another pair of gift socks. And this is the lovely yarn that I got as part of that awesome package, the big box of stuff that I got from a lovely viewer in Germany. He didn't want me to mention her name. And this is the beautiful sock yarn in Lana Grossa from the Fantasy range, and it's number 4710. Looking forward to knitting those up. And I'm so looking forward to getting a ball binder so I don't have to hand wind balls anymore. It may look pretty, but it just takes up so much time. I was about to say something that would be not quite so polite, but yes, it's not the most fun. And the last project I'm taking in one of my lovely linen bags is a shawl. And this is the Dew Drops shawl. It's a free pattern on Ravelry by Bex Hopkins. I really liked the shape and the lace pattern. It's very simple. It's nothing overly extravagant, but I think it would be beautiful for the yarn that I'm just going to knit it in. And this is the dye 4 yarn. There we go, it's upside down. Dye 4 yarn, 100% silk in the Hot Desire colorway. And this was a yarn that the lovely Tilly Shroud sent me as part of a swap that we did. This is 695 meters and 100 grams lace weight. So you remember when I said a few episodes back I want to knit all the lace weight? Well, now that the Viajante is off my needles, this will be my next lace weight project. And the good thing about this shawl is the first big section is just plain stockinette, and even the first lace section is very first lace chart is very easy as well. So I figured that would be great for the holiday. I probably won't get to the big lace section at the bottom, and because it's slightly larger needles, that was knit on 3.75mm needles, and the socks are all on either 2.25 or 2.5mm. So the slightly larger needles will be good if my hands need a break from the really tight gauge for socks. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So that's my holiday knitting planned, I guess. That and the shawl, my shawl design. And I'll be taking extra needles because I'll likely want to cast on other things while I'm away. We will see how that goes. I've got yeah, it's going to be quite a busy trip, so I'm not actually sure how much knitting time I'm going to really have realistically, but there's always the plane. I was going to mention about my shawl design, forgot to mention it when I was showing it to you. I'm working on getting the pattern written up, so what I will likely do is, it'll probably happen whilst I'm on holiday, is I will get in touch with a few people from the test knitting list in the group, and I will get in touch with you guys to see if you're interested in knitting the shawl, give you some more details about the shawl construction, yardage, all that sort of stuff that you may need. And then if you can confirm back to me that you are interested, or that you're still interested and you can meet the time frame deadlines and the other requirements, then I will I am going to try and get the pattern at least written up in a format that testers can start working from. It won't be in the final format, but it will be detailed enough for testers to work on. And I will try and get that out to you guys as soon as I can. Again, hopefully before we get back, but if not, shortly after we get back. So around mid-September, for you guys to get started on that. And I want to give you guys as long as possible to test that pattern, but at the same time I don't want it to take forever either, which is why I'm trying to get it started a bit earlier, probably, you know, maybe even before I finish the shawl myself. So keep an eye on your Ravelry inboxes for a message from me soon. If you don't, I'm going to say I'll give you guys like a day, like 24 hours or so to get back to me, to let me know if you're interested. If I don't hear back from you, I'll move on and contact someone else from the list. Reason being, and I'm just going to put this out there, anyone who's testing for me, I would expect them to be relatively responsive. I would expect them to keep in touch with me I've had a few testers in the past who haven't finished the project, have not got in touch with me at all since after I've sent them the pattern, and I've never heard from them. So and that's happened to me a couple of times now. So to avoid that happening, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay out like specific guidelines for what I expect from my testers, and I will let you know when I contact you. And if you can't meet those guidelines this time, that is fine. I understand, life happens, people are busy, but even if you start a test for me and you find that you don't have time to finish it, that is fine too, but I expect you to let me know and to be in touch with me about it. So and that's fine. Like, I genuinely, I understand life happens sometimes, and that's why we have multiple testers. As pattern designers have more than one person testing a pattern for them in case something happens. So so yeah, don't think that it would preclude you from me, asking you to test for me again. It won't, but I just expect people to be honest and to keep in touch with me and let me know how they're doing and send progress pictures and stuff like that. All that to say, if you've signed up to be a tester for me, expect it. Hopefully, some of you will hear from me in the next week to 2 weeks. I obviously can't have everyone testing for me, so I will just go through the list and probably in the order that people have signed up, start contacting people that way. So it's just a heads up. Moving on to knit along news, there's not really much new happening to tell you guys about. The Sunrays Cal runs until the 7th of September. There are 14 finished objects so far, so the 7th of September is next Monday, so you guys have a week to finish off your shawls and enter finished object photos into the thread. It would be great if you guys also have project pages set up and linked to the pattern page, so I can check those out there too. So that's awesome. The Rainbow Cal is going to be running until the 30th of September, and there are already over 100 entries into the finished objects thread for that, which is amazing. And there's actually been a new prize donation that's arrived in the post this week, so I'll show you that later in the acquisition section. And the September Cal, that starts tomorrow, officially starts tomorrow, and runs until the 30th of September. That is a basically anything that begins with S knit along. Shawls, socks, scarves, sweaters, a pattern name that begins with S, so even if it's not a S item like a shawl, if the pattern begins with S, then that is fine too. Whips are welcome, and this is open, this knit along is open for knitting and crochet projects. The chatter thread is already up, and I see that a few of you have already found that and have left comments and chatted away. This is great, and I will get the finished objects thread. Jeez, words are failing me. The finished objects thread set up for you guys tomorrow, so that will open tomorrow. And yeah, and you're more than welcome to double dip between the two cals that are running throughout September or with other cals. I know there are plenty of people that are doing like shawl timber knit-alongs, other sorts of like sock knit-alongs or shawl knit-alongs now that fall's hitting. Geez, did I just say that? I've clearly been watching too many American podcasts. Autumn is coming. Jeez, I have never said fall in my entire life. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, autumn is coming, so there are a lot of shawl knit-alongs happening at the moment, so be sure to feel free to double dip as much as you want. I will move on now to the Q&A section, and like I mentioned last week, I'm not actually going to answer any questions this week. I've saved those up for the pre-recording episode that I'll be doing in a couple of days. I just want to say thank you so much to everyone who's posted a question in the episode thread from last week. It was so lovely of you, and I got some really good questions, so I'm really looking forward to answering those in a couple of days when I record the next episode. And also thank you to everyone who shared your stash storage methods. It was really interesting to read all of those and see the pictures that you guys have shared. It's definitely given me some good ideas for what I may want to do when I get back from New York. And topic of discussion for this week is, well, for me, is Periscope. I joined Periscope this week. A couple of people have got in touch and suggested that maybe I might want to join. I'd heard about it from other podcasters who've joined, and I was sort of umming and ahhing about whether I wanted to get involved or if it was something that would interest me. So I signed up and I sort of had a look around. I checked out a few people who've done live broadcasts, and it's been interesting, and I definitely would like to explore that format a little bit more going forward. Disa of Disa's Craftswork actually got in touch and was like, oh, could you show us like how you sew your project bags? And I was like, well, and she was totally understanding about this. I was like, well, other than maybe, not wanting to give away all my secrets on how I sew my project bags up, not that it is particularly not that there are particularly many secrets. Like, if you know how to sew and you got on project bags, you could probably figure out quite easily how I did it. It is not like anything magical that I do that no one else can do, sort of thing. But the biggest thing for me is I have no idea how I can sew and hold a camera at the same time to show it to you guys. So unless I had Perry around to hold it for me and film it while I'm actually sewing, I'm not sure how I'd be able to do that. And he's not around that much at the moment. When he is, he's really busy studying. So I'm not sure if I'd be able to do that, but if there's anything else that you guys would like to see, please do let me know. I'm not entirely... My main issue with Periscope is that I am in a time zone that is drastically different than most people who watch and follow my podcast and me. So just to give you a bit of perspective, I am the closest in time zone to people in Europe. So there's a 1 hour time difference with like mainland Europe, I guess, like Germany, Spain, France, that time zone. It's 2 hours difference with the UK. So we're 2 hours ahead of the UK and 1 hour ahead of sort of like Central Western Europe. We are 7 hours ahead of New York in the East Coast, and I think it's like 11 hours ahead of the West Coast, and something crazy the other direction ahead of people in Australia. So the time differences are kind of all over the place, and I wouldn't be entirely sure when would be the best time to broadcast to sort of be suitable for the most people, if that makes sense. I can't really record in the evenings because my lighting is pretty terrible at night, so it'd have to be in the mornings, but I'm not entirely sure how many people would actually be awake at this time of the morning. The only people that would really be awake would probably be those in Australia and those on the West Coast. So those in Australia, it would be their morning, and those on the West Coast, it would be the night before for them. So so that's my real main concern with Periscope, is that if I did it, there wouldn't be anyone around to watch or to take part with. I don't know if anyone would be interested at those times. But if you are, what sort of things would be interesting in seeing? Like little mini episodes or like Q&As? I was thinking maybe I could show some fabrics that I'm planning on doing for project bags and have you guys sort of like pick which fabrics I do next, sort of thing. Which sort of fabrics I do next for an update. Things like that, really. I was thinking actually what would be quite good with Periscope is maybe if internet access depending, I could maybe do a few whilst I'm traveling. If I have internet whilst I'm out and about, I could do some when I visit yarn stores, or in the hotel in the evenings, maybe to show you guys what I picked up that day. I don't know, would you guys be interested in that sort of thing? Yeah, that's my general sort of musings, as it were, about Periscope. I don't know what you guys think about it. Let me know what you think. Do you think any of those ideas are good? Do you have any other suggestions? I'm interested to know what you guys would like to see, because I guess there's not much point in me doing a Periscope or scoping, I guess is what it's called, about something if you guys don't have any interest in it. So do let me know. I'd love to hear about it, hear what you think, and yeah, so I'm kind of looking for some guidance, if that makes any sense. It's a completely new platform and I'm still trying to figure it out, but I am interested in giving it a go. So yeah, ideas will be greatly appreciated. So that's my main question for this week. And my next question is, in the midst of planning for this upcoming trip, and I am getting so excited about it now, is I've created a list of my, I guess my yarn dream list, as it were, wish list. This is a list of yarns that either I can't access online easily, or if I can, postage is a bit of an issue, or I can't get in the UK, or just things that are a little bit more difficult to get hold of, or that I haven't tried yet, things like that, things that are a little bit more special maybe. And I was just curious, what's on your yarn wish list? What yarns do you want to try, or have you wanted to purchase and try out that you haven't had a chance to yet, and it's on your yarny wish list? I have quite a long list. I am, as you guys probably know, I'm relatively new to knitting. I have not had an opportunity to try out all the different yarns. I haven't even tried out all the different yarns currently in my stash. So whilst that doesn't look like a lot of yarn to some people, that is a lot of yarn to me. So yeah, I'm interested to hear about what you guys enjoy knitting with, and what yarns you would like to try out that you haven't had a chance to yet, and what dyers would you like to try, or bases, and I'm just interested. So let me know in the comments section. There are a couple that I'm interested in, and my list is not actually anywhere near me, so I can't grab it easily. Oh wait, no, there it is. So some of the yarns that I really want to try, I may as well share with you guys, is I really want to try Hazel Knits. I've heard a lot about Hazel Knits, and Life in the Long Grass I really want to try out. Really want to try out some hedgehog fibres, but I will come back to that in a little bit. What else? Miss Babs. I really wanted to try some. I've got some Miss Babs now in my stash, thanks to Carrie of Freckled Whimsy, who sent me some as part of a swap that we did, but I haven't knit with it yet. And I'd really like to try some Yowza. I've heard a lot about this, like Miss Babs Yowza, and Jinx yarns, and there are so many others. I mean, my list is tiny compared to what it will actually be. I kind of keep adding stuff to it as and when I come across things, but I'm also trying to come up with like a list of yarns that I may want to get on this trip. I'm trying to be really good about coming up with a list of patterns and what yarns they require to then buy yarn with a plan, rather than just buying yarn for the sake of it. And I don't want to buy just lots of single skeins. I want to buy yarn with the intention of actually making something with it. I think that will make me feel less stressed about it. So that's kind of what I'll be working on in the next couple of days as well. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Shop update news. I had a shop update on Friday. Thank you so much to everyone who purchased a bag on Friday. I was blown away by the response. I'd not been expecting that at all. I almost sold out of all the new bags. I think there were only 4 bags left of the 20 odd bags that I added to the update on Friday, and there are still a bunch left from the previous updates as well. So if you are still interested in getting a bag, you can go and check that out. The shop, I will close the shop on Thursday morning. When I get up, I'll close the shop on Thursday morning, because Thursday's the last day I'll actually get to the post office, so you have a couple of days to place place a bag order if you still want to before I close the shop when we go away, and I'll open the shop a couple of days before we get back, so I'll post out an email any orders that come in after I get back. Moving on to acquisitions, the first thing, and I totally forgot to mention this last week, was that I managed to get into the Hedgehog Fiber Sock Lab for this next quarter. So I signed up for their sock club, which is 2 skeins a month, and I can't wait. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what comes in the mail, because I've loved a lot of their colourways, and it's my first yarn club. I've never joined a yarn club before, so this should be exciting to see how it goes. And the second thing, a lovely little package that came in the mail from Jenny, who is Cupcake Crochet on Instagram, and she has she's starting a new podcast. She was part of the Cast Off crew, I believe, and then she's starting her own podcast. I don't know if she started it yet or not. Jenny, if you see this, let me know if you have. I'd love to check it out. And she sent me some stitch markers. She makes stitch markers, and she sent me some tea. There's vanilla caramel, which I really want to try this one, and some green tea with orange, passion fruit and jasmine. Ooh, sorry, this one was open in the bag. The bag itself was also open when it got it at the post office. Basically, I'm just going with the assumption that if you send me tea, the post office are going to open my bag, open the package, I mean, which is fine. There's never anything missing. They just open it to check that the tea is actually tea. So she sent me 3 sets of stitch markers. So she sent this one, which are the snagless rings, and there's one sort of progress keeper in there as well, which is a yarn ball, little card. She sent this one, which are some rainbow stitch markers, which are really cute. And these are the long loopy, the long loopy type. You can see there. And then she's also sent me one which looked like they're on like the earring sort of loops, and these are great for crochet, I guess, because crocheters can't use these type. So these are and she said in her note, she sent me a lovely note as well. She said in her note, these are the 3 types of stitch markers that she offers. So the snagless rings, the removable like earring back type stitch markers, and the metal loop ones. And so one of these is going to be a prize for the rainbow cowl with the skein of yarn that Georgina of You Who Knits sent, which was the rainbow dash skein. So what I'm going to do is what I'll do is whoever wins that prize, they will get their choice of one of these sets, because if the person who wins is a crocheter, they may want this one. If they're not, they may want one of the other ones. So I'm not going to select that for you. I will let you pick which one you want if you win, and then the other 2 I will keep for future giveaway prizes. But no, that was not all she sent me. She also sent me a bag with literally a ridiculous number of stitch markers in it for me. Thank you so much, Jenny. That was so sweet of you. And she sent me a variety of different styles that she makes. But there was one in particular that I wanted to show you. That was this one. This little panda stitch progress keeper. I wanted to show you this one because, and I don't think I've ever mentioned it on the podcast before, but I am literally obsessed with pandas. I absolutely love pandas. I cannot get over how cute they are. They are probably biologically like the worst animal ever. They are so not designed to exist anymore, but they are so cute and so adorable. And over a year ago now, New Year's 2013 into 14, Perry and I were in Hong Kong for New Year's, and then we went over to Macau for a couple of days. It's only like 1 hour on the ferry from Hong Kong to Macau, and we went to Macau for a few days. And when I was researching the trip, I found out that there is a it's not a zoo, it's a sort of like a reserve preservation place. I can't remember what it's called now. They have pandas in Macau, is what I'm getting at. Basically, they have pandas there, and they have two pandas. So we went to find the pandas. We went and saw the pandas, and thankfully it seemed to be like really low season. Sort of New Year's for us, like the 1st of January, around then, is really quite quiet. In Hong Kong and Macau, it's not a massive deal. For them, obviously, Chinese New Year is a much bigger deal in February, and that's when they're really busy. So we were there in their sort of quiet time. So it was really fun. When I saw the pandas, I may have had a little freak out with the pandas. I even picked up a panda cuddly toy, which is in our living room. And yeah, I love pandas. So that was my little panda story. Oh, I love this little stitch marker. It's so sweet. Love it. And there's an owl. And I love owls too. Owls are so cute. Owls, I really love owls, and our boys, our cats, they remind me of owls sometimes, because I think it's the folded ears. It gives them and they've got really round eyes, so it gives them sort of like an owl-like face. It's a cute little elephant. A fun elephant story as well. If you guys are ever interested, let me know. I don't want to sit here and just tell you loads of stories. And she sent me a bunch of these rainbow stitch markers as well, which are really fun. So thank you so much, Jenny. Thank you so much. It was so generous of you. And that's all that came in the mail this week. There's been nothing else in the mailbox since I got back from Dubai, which is totally fine. I know there are a few things on their way, so if they don't arrive before we leave on Thursday, they'll probably be here by the time we get back. And finally, on to my week in review. This has been a long episode. I'm already at an hour. But that's fine, you guys seem to like the longer ones. It's been a busy few days. This last week has been pretty hectic, but in a good way. I went to, as you guys know, I went to Dubai last week for work, and that was a relatively successful trip. Got the work stuff done. Always a good thing. So I was there for 3 days, and I stayed in a hotel in Dubai Marina. Now we used to live in Dubai Marina when we were there, and this is actually the first time I've been back since we left. The other times I've been back to Dubai, I've stayed with my friend, and she lives in another part of Dubai. So I'd never actually had a reason to go back to the marina. And this time I went back, my friend's actually away. She's in Europe, so I wasn't staying with her, and because it was a work trip, they were putting me up in a hotel anyway. And basically they were like, just pick wherever you want to stay. So I did. And the hotel that I stayed at is actually a new hotel in Dubai Marina. It was just opening as we were leaving, and it's the Intercontinental in Dubai Marina. And it's literally 100 meters to the left of where we used to live. It's pretty much the next building over from our old apartment building. So it really felt like going home. It felt like being back home, being in the marina and having such a familiar view from the window, and just being somewhere so familiar. And one morning I got up and I had some breakfast, and I checked the weather, and it was 36 degrees at 8 in the morning. And I was like, okay, it's cool enough, relatively speaking. It's cool enough that I can probably go down for a walk by the beach and maybe shoot a little bit of video to share with you guys. So what I'm about to insert here, and I don't know how to do the voiceover thing to talk over the video and explain to you guys what you're seeing, and I didn't do it at the time because I'm gonna speed up the video, because otherwise it's gonna be way too long for you guys to sit through and watch. So I'll give you a quick explanation now before I actually insert the footage. So I start recording just outside our apartment building as I'm about to cross the road. Across the road, sort of diagonally opposite, you'll see there's a Starbucks, and Starbucks is literally just that close to where we used to live. At the weekends, if we weren't going out for breakfast, one of us would, either me or Perry, would pop down to Starbucks and get us a coffee for the morning. We only did that like once a weekend. We wouldn't do that every day at the weekend, and only if we weren't going out for breakfast anyway. So yeah, it's kind of dangerous having the Starbucks that close. And And then literally I just walked straight down to the beach, which is less than a 2-minute walk. Then as I approach the beach in the footage, you'll see I walk through like these sort of like pillars with electronic screens. To the right of that on the video is a cinema. So there's a beachside cinema, which was really fun and really good to have so close by. And then I walked down along the beachfront, and there's a development, all of those buildings, like all of the concrete, wooden, steel buildings, squares. That whole development is called The Beach. It's relatively new, it's only been around for a little over a year now. And it's all restaurants and shops and cafes and stuff like that. It's really fun, really lively atmosphere at the weekends and in the evenings, during the cooler months especially. As you can probably tell from the footage, there was pretty much no one around. It was very quiet, 8 a.m. on a workday morning. But it was just really nice to go for a little walk. I have to say though, by the end of it, I was totally knackered. The heat just completely took it out of me. But I liked it. It's really nice. It was sort of like I said, it felt like being back home. So I hope you enjoy that, and I will insert that footage for you guys here really quickly. Okay, so hopefully you saw that, and hopefully it wasn't too like bouncing around or whatever, because I was holding the camera in my hand. I made a trip to Satwa, which is the area in Dubai where all the fabric shops are, and I picked up some fabric. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll have seen, and I'll show you that fabric on the next episode. I've already jabbered on for quite a lot for this one already. Some of you guys commented on the last episode thread about the driving that I showed in Bahrain and how that was. And you guys were saying that you were quite surprised by, some of you said that you'd have freaked out by the car that jumped out in front of us at one point. And honestly, I was too when it first happened to us when we first moved to the Middle East. But you would be surprised how quickly you get used to terrible driving and how quickly things like that just don't surprise you anymore. It takes quite a lot to surprise me now on the roads. I find a lot of things I deal with it and it's almost like second nature now. You don't really think about it too much anymore. Some of the best things are, I say best things, I guess some of the worst things about the driving that I've seen is there was one where it's not one, it happens all the time. People try to intimidate you. It's very sort of intimidating driving style over there in Dubai, especially. They like to ride your bumper, especially if they're in a big car. They think they have right of way on the road, and they speed up and they literally ride your bumper. They are probably that far away from your bumper, and they just sit there. They flash their headlights at you. They honk their horn to try and get you to get out their way if you don't move out the lane. Now, I'm an incredibly stubborn person by nature, unless there is someone else in the car with me, in which case I don't do this because I don't want them to freak out and I don't want to cause an accident with someone else in the car with me. But if I'm on my own, I can be incredibly stubborn, and what I tend to do is I just stay in the lane to piss them off. Sorry if that offends anyone, but I stay in the lane to annoy them, and even better, sometimes I just slow down because then they have to slow down or they're going to hit me. And I figure if they do hit me, it's their fault anyway, so because they're riding my bumper so closely, so they're not going to want to. And usually that they back off, or they back off but they just keep flashing their lights at me until I'll move, which I won't unless it's my exit, and then I do. But like I said, I can be pretty stubborn on the road sometimes. But the best thing that I've ever seen on the roads in Dubai and here is, I mentioned that they don't like to use their indicators when they're changing lanes, but when they do, half the time they don't even indicate the right direction. I have seen it so many times when someone indicates right, as in they're going to turn right, but then they go left, or vice versa, they indicate left and then they go right. And I say, honestly, that's worse than not indicating. When you indicate the wrong direction is even worse, I think, than not indicating at all. Anyway, moving on. I have a bit of video footage again from driving around Dubai. Now this footage, I warn you, is about 4 years old. It's from when we first moved to Dubai, and I was driving from our home in the marina to my dentist, as it happened, in Healthcare City, which is on the other side of Dubai. And it's a time-lapse video, so it's not as smooth. It's sort of like it's a time-lapse. So I'll insert that here. But I was rewatching the video clip the other day, and I was like, wow, Dubai's changed so much in the 4 years. Now, the hotel that I stayed at, for example, I drive past it, but it doesn't exist yet because the building hadn't been built 4 years ago. So yes, that's really interesting. It was interesting for me to watch it back. So for those of you, for my friends who watch the podcast in Dubai, if you stay and watch that video clip, you'll see what I mean. It's changed so much in 4 years. And so I'll actually, you know what I'll do is I'll stick that video at the end of the podcast, so you guys can check that out at the end. Other things that happened this last week, I met up with some of my friends in Dubai for a little knitting catch-up on Tuesday night, which was so lovely. It was lovely to see everyone. Some of the ladies were actually were away. They were in London, ironically. So they had their own little knitting meetup at Loop, and I knit. And whilst we were meeting up later in the evening in Dubai, and so we were sending each other photos and chatting to each other on Instagram and on Facebook and stuff. So it was almost like they were there. So yeah, it's definitely been a long week. It's been lovely being back. The weekend, well, Perry's just been working all weekend. He had a couple of at-home exams he had to do, so he's just been really busy. I've been getting on with sorting my stuff out. I've wrapped all the birthday presents. I'm doing some swap packages with people when I go to New York. So either I'll be mailing or meeting people and stuff, so I've been getting those ready. What else have I been doing? Forgot to mention, it was so horrible getting off that plane when we got back to Bahrain. I walked out the airport and it was like just literally being hit by a wall of humidity and heat. It was horrid. I was waiting for the bus to take me back to the car park where I parked the car. Thankfully I didn't have to wait too long, but I was checking my phone and the weather app was saying it was 71% humidity. And for those of you who don't know what that feels like, have you ever been to a steam sauna? That's what it feels like. It feels like walking into a steam sauna. It's just like you walk out and you instantly feel wetness on your body. Like you feel your skin just feels damp everywhere. Everything feels sticky and gross and horrible. And then on top of that, the app was saying that the wind chill was 51 degrees centigrade. That's 125 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't think they fully understand the concept of wind chill. But anyway, it is suffice to say it was hot and sticky and damp and horrible and humid. And a couple of people asked, how do we cope? The answer is we don't cope. We stay indoors in our air-conditioned homes and knit socks. That's what we do. As my friend Mel says, we don't cope with the heat and the humidity. You learn to deal with it and you learn to avoid it as much as possible. A couple of other things really quickly before I finish off here. The boys are doing fine, they're doing great. I got them a couple of new toys yesterday and they've been going absolutely crazy over it. They love the toys where it's like a mouse or like a little birdie thing on the end of a stick that you twirl around and they chase. They absolutely love that. A couple of people have asked how we tell them apart and stuff like that, and the fact is, I know it doesn't necessarily always look that way in the photos or on the video, but they are different colours. Derek is our black cat and Hugo's actually grey. He's grey stripes as it happens as well. And even Derek isn't a true black cat. His coat has very sort of brown undertones. He's a very dark chocolate brown and his undercoat is like a light grey. And Hugo's undercoat is white and he's sort of like a mottled grey stripe on top. Now, don't get me wrong, Hugo's definitely gotten darker as he's gotten older. As a kitten, he was proper grey. And as he's gotten older, his fur is definitely darkened, but he is still distinctly grey compared to Derek. And I know in a lot of my photos and stuff, he looks black, but that's either because he's backlit or it's just really bad lighting in our house. So, but yeah, Derek's our black cat and Hugo's grey. And that's really the quickest way for us to tell them apart, other than Derek's snaggletooth. I mean, it's quite easy for us to tell them apart now. It's like someone who's got twins and you ask them, how can you tell them apart? You just do. You just know them. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to this trip to New York. I have a couple days in London. I don't know if I mentioned this before. I have a couple days in London. We have a couple days in London before we go to New York. It's my dad's birthday in a couple of days, and it's his 60th. So on our way to New York, we decided to spend a couple of days in London for that. And I am going to be meeting up with Leah of the All You Knit Is Love podcast on Friday at Loop, which is going to be awesome. I can't wait to see her there. And then we're having like a family lunch get together on the Saturday. Now my dad and my brother don't know that we're going. Perry's family knows and my mum knows, But for my dad and my brother, it's going to be a surprise. Well, it's actually only really supposed to be a surprise for my dad, but then I realised I never told my brother where I was going back, so I decided I'll surprise him too, which should be fun. As it also happens, the Saturday that we're back in London is Yarn in the City, which is sort of like a small sort of fibre festival, yarn festival, and they're doing like a yarn crawl thing. Just my luck, huh? But I probably won't be able to go because, like I said, we're having family lunch and just hanging out with family that day. If I do get to go to the marketplace, it will probably be quite last minute on the Saturday. I'm not even sure. I probably won't go. And to be honest, I'm not all that worried about it because I'm going to be doing all the yarn shopping when I'm in New York. And speaking about New York, I'll be meeting up with a couple of viewers, and I'll also be getting to meet up with Kristen of the Vullenvine podcast. So Vullenvine Yarns Yarngasm podcast, and she also has a trunk show on the 12th of September, which is Saturday, at Gauge and Tension. So I'm really looking forward to checking that out too, and seeing her there again too. And so yeah, and anyone else who comes along, it would be lovely to meet you guys. Like I said, I'll be meeting up with a couple of other viewers during the week as well. It's going to be a really busy week. I need to sit down and start planning the whole itinerary, as it were. I get really into the planning. Like, I try and leave that as late as possible because it's like my favourite thing to do for a trip, is to actually sit down and plan everything. I get so excited by that. I actually think I enjoy the planning almost as much as I actually enjoy the trip. But maybe I'm a bit weird like that. And the last thing that I totally forgot to mention to you guys last week, and super exciting news for me, is that the trip I mentioned that I may be joining Perry on in October, November, end of October, beginning of November, has been confirmed. We've booked our flights. I am coming to Washington DC at the end of October, and then I'm going up to Boston for a few days to visit my cousin and his family, and before going back to New York to catch up with Perry before flying back to Bahrain. So what's happening with that one is Perry's got his week class in New York the first week of November, and for the few days beforehand, one of his classmates is organising sort of like a tour around Washington DC, which is where he's from. And as soon as Perry mentioned that to me, I was like, yeah, I'm coming. And because for those of you who may or may not be aware, Tanya Marie, who is the Sampler Girl and Busy Mama on Instagram, lives in Washington DC, and I met up with her mum and her mum's friend Nancy, her mum Lucy and her mum's friend Nancy in London when I was there in May, and I've got on with them amazingly, and I get on really well with Tanya. We've been chatting online and stuff, and it's been really lovely to chat with her. And we've been talking about wanting to meet up and stuff, and now I'm getting to go to DC, and so I am so looking forward to catching up with Tanya and with Lucy and with Nancy. It'd be so lovely to see them all and just hang out and go check out Fiberspace, which will be awesome. So I'm so looking forward to that trip too. And then so whilst Perry is doing his classes in New York that week, following that, I'll be going up to Boston for a few days where my cousin lives there. One of my cousins lives there with his wife and kids. So and just to put it in perspective, I'm closer in age to his kids than I am to my cousin. I'm a couple of years older than his kids, so it'll be nice to go and hang out with them and see them again. And yeah, I think that pretty much wraps it up for this week. This has been a very long episode, so thank you so much if you're still watching. I really appreciate you sticking with me, and it's been a very chatty episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. Hop on over to the Ravelry thread and let me know what you think. If you have any sort of comments, answer the questions that I asked this week, and just let me know what you guys are up to. I always love to hear from you. I really appreciate all the messages I get from you guys. I'm really sorry if I'm a little bit slow at replying over the next couple of weeks while I'm traveling, but I will get back to everybody. I really make an effort to reply to everyone as much as I can in the threads, especially in the introductions thread, and to the messages that you guys send me. I really try my best. So yeah, thank you so much, and yeah, I hope you guys have a lovely week, have a lovely Monday, and I will chat to you guys soon. Take care. Bye. Oh, and don't forget, stick around. I've got the video footage of the drive-through to buy for you guys at the end here. Bye.